Well, once we cut a tree, that successional growth clock starts to tick, and we may end up with a lot of this, which is pole timber. Now this is aspen behind me. It's probably 10 to 15-year-old growth, and it's not much good for deer habitat. But today I'm in here making this area better. Let me show you what I'm up to. All right, so here's what we were dealing with before. High stem count aspen, but not high stem count cover. Just lots of poles growing in here, and you can see it looks green in the summer, but I guarantee once the foliage falls off, it's pretty wide open underneath. Not a ton of food, a little bit of shrubby cover. And here's what we got now. Now I will add that when you're doing this kind of cutting, it really is nice to do it in the winter. One, you're feeding the deer with the stuff you cut. You got a whole growing season for your regeneration, and it's not 85 degrees and hot and humid and buggy. So winter's a great time to do it, but I do a lot of my cutting in the summer because that's when I have time to do it. You can see I got all the aspen cut in this area. So as I was cutting, I literally left anything that wasn't aspen, and I piled up my aspen so that it was easy for the deer to move around. Now aspen are awesome in that they regenerate off the root system, so I will get thousands of stems coming right here, but I already had a ton of great species growing in this area that now have a bunch of sunlight. Now you can see here it was loaded with dogwood, tons of dogwood in here. I had some hazelnut growing. I've seen nannyberry on the property. I didn't see any of that, I guess, in this area today. But all this dogwood, with all the sunlight it's getting now, it's going to really take off. It's a nice thicket-forming shrub. And it'll have the aspen regeneration coming underneath it all, too. So this is, it looks like wide open spaces right now, but it's thick, or it's going to be thick in this area. And here's the big thing, why I pile up the aspen. I want lots of spots for the deer to be able to lay down. So I put the aspen off to the side in piles, kind of made a maze and pocket effect through here. And now the deer have plenty of spots that they can lie down. So I picked this spot for cutting because it had something different in it. It wasn't just pure aspen. I have these balsams growing right here. And these are those spots I said when you get isolated conifers, those deer really hone in on them. They use them as bedding locales. And now with the aspen cut around this little island of balsams, I'm going to have thick cover, but a little open space right here that the deer can tuck into and bed in. So I had that. I had a bur oak right there, which was awesome. That's completely released now, so it can rain down acorns. Another island of balsams over there. And there was plenty of young oaks in here too that I wanted to open up and give a chance to. So right here was a little corridor that was already cut in. It runs the length of this kind of aspen regeneration area. Kind of links up between a couple of stands. But I wanted to have bedding right off this main corridor that is getting used by the deer. This kind of loops all the way through there. So that's why I did my cut right here. Now this is actually downwind on a northwest wind, so a buck can run this and scent check this during the rut once this blows up. And I anticipate the aspen regeneration, if we get another wet year, I mean it's July right now, it's probably only going to grow a foot or two this year, but next year with the full growing season, it's probably going to be good viable cover already. It does not take long for the aspen to make good deer habitat. I mean, this year it's going to be browse, and we need a good browse area in here so the deer will still be in it. Again, you can see my young oaks that I had growing, and now got a chance. So here was a spot that set up really well for bedding. See, I got a great location for a bed right here with 3 different escapes. Boom, boom, and then back where I came right there. I think there was a natural bed right here. Because what happened is there was a bunch of windfall right here. So this was a spot that had a good backstop for the deer. So that's why I had a bed right here. And I cleaned up this escape a little bit. It was a little bit trashed, especially out that way, but it did have 2 good escapes before the deer did. One looking out that direction. So there's a lot of this. These aspen are bent over like this, making these little canopies, which are great, but they need to be accessible. So this little canopy here wasn't accessible before. See my dogwood right there. This is a nice spot to have a deer bed, but it was completely trashed right there, so I opened it up. It's another thing we talked to the landowner about doing, is just coming into some of these areas with these bent over aspen shoots and just cleaning up beds. You can see there's quite a bit of it in this property where it's leaning like that. Up there you can see all kinds of it. So we just need to cut holes in it, make it accessible for the deer. I definitely don't mind the piles one bit. They will take a little bit to break down, but it does add a little structure. The bedding area, I love the fact that it makes nice seclusion cages for my oak regeneration. Yeah, you might get some nest predators and stuff that'll filter into those, but they find their spots. I'm not worried about that one bit. I like the structure it provides, and I like the fact that I get the trash out of the way so that I have lots of spots to bed. I mean, look, there's a great little bedding hub right there, and it's because there's no trash on it. So here's a perfect little balsam conifer island. Cleared this spot right here. So this would be a great location for a deer to bed. Looking out that way, looking out that way, and then great escape slipping out the back. I mean, these are kind of those dynamite bedding locations. I think I had a natural bed right there too. So they find these conifer islands. So if you're in a pole timber area and you see something different, you see some oaks, you see some conifers, maybe even a small little marshy area kind of like this one, build up your bedding next to those areas. Give the deer some diversity in their bedding. We could have looked, I mean, with the aspen regeneration and with it all bent over, it was bedding deer here. Could have left it as is, but I don't want all just one type of bedding. I want to give diversity to the deer, a diverse array of options to the deer with their bedding options. You give them everything they want and they don't have any reason to leave. So again, here was a little windfall area. I used the natural windfall as an area to throw my branches, my pole timber. I made a big old brush pile right here because it was already all trashed. But again, I opened it up behind it because this is fantastic bedding structure. There was another big old bed right there, right behind the windfall. And that's what we emulate with a lot of this cutting, is nature. Nature shows us where the deer want to bed, and we just come in and give the deer access to it. There's another nice deer bed in this marsh. There's one tree falling right there, so I just cut that out just to make sure the deer can continue to use this one, slip into it. Didn't want that to settle down and block the path. But again, the deer was bedded here for a reason. They still could kind of get out that way. They had an escape out that way. And then there was a really thick backstop. So, I mean, look at what the deer are already doing and try to copy that. That's all I try to do with these bedding cuts. All right, well, that was the project for today. Now, I should add another option of what you can do if you don't want to bust out the old elbow grease and cut them in yourself. We are planning to utilize, or possibly utilize, a mulcher for some of these bedding cuts. Just bringing the mulcher in and resetting the aspen. That's all we're going to do. So, I mean, that's a little spendier than doing it yourself, but it is a good viable option to get the cover back in the deer's face and get the food back in the deer's face. So yeah, fun project today. I mean, it probably would have been more fun to do in the spring or winter, but gotta make hay when the sun shines, right? All right, that's all I got for today. Y'all take care. God bless.